Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in again to one of my videos talking about communities and coronavirus. This is a series of videos that has accidentally come about as a result of my journey, my headspace, I guess, as a community engagement specialist during this epically strange time of COVID-19 as a global health pandemic. As I mentioned in my last video, if people aren't talking about the health situation at the moment, and if they're not talking about the dire state of the economy all over the world, they're talking about the community situation. And one of the absolute upsides of this awful pandemic has been witnessing the rise of community. People have literally been stopped in their tracks of their busy lives. They've been forced to stay home. They've found themselves suddenly cooped up with their children 24/7. And dare I say it, they've spent time in their neighbourhoods, getting to know their neighbours and their local communities. Now, this uprising of neighbourhood connectedness, or some might just call it simply community spirit, has been inspirational. And some of my favourite examples here in South Australia have included people popping notes in letterboxes, offering help to each other, putting teddy bears in windows for children that are walking around the neighbourhood on their socially distanced walks, and of course things like connecting via Zoom with old and new friends. And I've seen so many variations of this, Zoom dinner parties, Zoom quiz nights, bingo nights, and even our own family Lego masters using this technology. But I don't think I have heard of any greater community spirit in action than when I've been speaking with my family in West Yorkshire in the UK. Each week, I've been hearing about the kind of community spirit that has been happening. And what I have been hearing has been off the scale community activity. And so, joining me today in an exclusive is my brother Richard, coming live from Huddersfield in the UK to tell us what's been happening in his neighbourhood. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, in fact, good evening, Australia. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the world you're watching from. Welcome to Huddersfield. It's a lovely, sunny spring morning here.
It's a bit weird because it's 5 o'clock. I've got a lasagna in the oven, getting ready for dinner time. So we are connecting around the world. Actually, to start off, is to just set the scene for us. Can you just tell us? We do have people watching these videos. Well, I probably have one or two people watching these videos in America, in Canada, in New Zealand, in the UK, and in Australia and New Zealand. Can you just set the scene for me as to where you live?
Yep, we live in a town called Huddersfield, home of the famous Huddersfield Town, which a couple of years ago, 2 years in the Football Premier League, sort of really helped put Huddersfield on the map. And an Australian by the name of Aaron Moy, might be familiar to some of you, played for Huddersfield, and really did help, as I said, put Huddersfield on the map. So Huddersfield, a smallish town in the north of England. We are midway between Leeds and Manchester. We're in the foothills of the Pennines, so we've got some stunning scenery around. Historically, traditionally, the town has been heavily involved in the textiles industry, the woolen industry, and that still dominates a lot of activity in the town today. It's also got, going back to the sports, it's the birthplace of rugby league. Obviously, rugby league being huge in Australia too. And Huddersfield's very proud of the fact that the first meeting to discuss the game was held in St George's Hotel in the middle of Huddersfield. We like it. It's a small, bustling, normally a small, bustling northern town that we're very proud to call home.
Brilliant. You're obviously a very proud Yorkshireman, and we should illustrate our surname Hurst is a Yorkshire name through and through. Can you just tell me a quick bit as well, before we talk about what's been happening in your community? What was life like before the pandemic hit for you?
Myself and my wife, we are both teachers, and we also have a young family, daughter aged 9 and a son aged 7. So as you can imagine, life was hectic, even chaotic for the want of a better word. Both working full time and being teachers, just not clocking off at 5 o'clock, working in evenings and weekends and things like that. And juggling, ferrying children from netball to rugby to gymnastics to beavers to brownies to everywhere. Life was chaotic, good fun, chaotic.
Absolutely. And I know what you live like. You do live a fun life, but it's a busy life, isn't it? We all do around the world, wherever we are. And what I would like to most know about is your street and what has been happening on your street, because I'm thinking of naming this video when I go live with it, is this world's most engaged community? Because can you talk me through what's happened on your street? What happened at the beginning? When did it all start?
A bit of background about the street, first of all. It's called Prospect Road, no, quite an unassuming name. Prospect Road actually got its name from a mill that used to be on the street. That was demolished about 25 years ago. So there's a lot of history on the street, but the street gets its name from the mill building. Yeah. There's a real mix of housing on the street. We live in a 3-story townhouse that are quite popular in this part of the world. The road itself is probably about 300, 400 metres long. So there's a real mix of housing, and in that, there's a whole mix of different people as well. We would see ourselves as a family, whereas we've also got in the apartment block across the road, which is one of the old mill buildings. It's the only remnants of the mill. You would see that as young professionals. I think some of the apartments have students. And then over the last few weeks, we have discovered that there are other families on the street. There are older couples, retired couples, and there's even people living by themselves, retired. And I guess at this time now, we've been looking out for them as well. So that's a little bit of background that we didn't really know prior to this situation, but through what the street has done, we've certainly, in your terms, engaged more as a community. So it all started really when the street got involved, just like the rest of the country, like the rest of the world, in clapping for us, it's the NHS, the National Health Service, but for all our care workers, our doctors, our nurses. For us, that was on a Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. You'd stand on your doorstep and you'd clap for an hour, not an hour, you'd clap for a minute. The kids would take pots and pans out, and just to make a lot of noise. From the first time we did that on the Thursday, on the Friday, we had a leaflet drop through the door from a gentleman a few doors up from us, wanting to try and instill some positivity in all these difficult times, suggesting that we might use social media, WhatsApp, as a means of communicating and trying, as I say, to bring some positivity whilst we're all in lockdown. By the Saturday, things had really gathered pace, probably about 50, 60 members in the group. By the Sunday evening, pretty much the whole street were dancing on their doorsteps. S Club 7, Reach for the Stars. Nigel, the gentleman up the road, the coordinator, he'd got people at various points along the street to coordinate the music being played out of cars at full volume, and the whole street was dancing. So from the clapping on Thursday, 48 hours later on the Sunday, the street were out dancing, and that really got things moving. And from then, it's just then been a whole series of different activities, competitions, and so on, which I'll mention in a minute. I think it's important that we recognise the seriousness of all this, and I can assure you, when I'm going through what we've done, that safety and social distancing has always been paramount. And this street, like every other street on the planet, recognises its responsibility to help defeat this virus, to keep apart, to restrict movement, to make sure if we're passing things from one person to another, we're wiping them down and so on. Yes, we have been very active, and some people might argue we've been a little bit overactive and testing the boundaries of the rules that we've got in place for lockdown. But I can assure you that we are responsible. We recognise the job that we've got as individuals and as a street to defeat this thing. And through this, we've actually discovered that 4 doors up, we have got a nurse who works at HRI, the local hospital, actually in intensive care. So she's part of the group, and she's all for it.
With the NHS clapping, you have a brass band on your street?
So the weekly clapping has continued on the streets, in line with the rest of the world, in line with the nation, and that's really gathered some pace on Prospect Road. Yeah. One of the residents just fairly close to us, a very keen musician, and I believe is a music teacher. Every time we clap on a Thursday now, he's out on his doorstep playing his trumpet, and that's quite emotional, listening to some old English hymns like Jerusalem being played whilst we're clapping. And that's nice, and that one man on a trumpet has now developed into the Prospect Road Brass Band. And we've now got 4 residents on the street that between them play brass instruments. So every Thursday they're out playing something different.
So you have a intensive care nurse, you have a man that can play the trumpet that has now formed a band.
Yeah, we've got all sorts. I'll get onto all the skills of the street in a bit. The band, they play requests, and they also play whatever's right for this country, for the world. So you might have heard of the 99-year-old gentleman, Captain Tom.
Yes.
He's now raised over £30 million for our health service. It was his birthday. And to coincide with his birthday, he, with Michael Ball, I think it was, recorded "You'll Never Walk Alone." So that was played on the Thursday of his birthday. And yeah, it's emotional, and I can feel myself welling up now thinking about that. But that they've chosen the music carefully, and listening to that whilst we're clapping, it is special, and it does really emphasise, even though we are physically apart, we are. We are actually close together, and we're all in this together. So yeah, the brass band they'll play Happy Birthday if there's a child on the street, and somebody requests it. They'll play Happy Birthday, and we'll sing, all obviously safely and at an appropriate distance away. So from the clapping and the dancing and the music, very quickly we had street bingo, which involved just getting a picnic table. And your gin and tonic and your beer and a few nibbles on your doorstep or on the edge of your drive. And if you're close enough to the caller, you could hear him. If you're at the other ends of the street, the numbers came through fairly rapidly on WhatsApp, so everybody could be involved. Totally inclusive. So the bingo was good. Got a little bit chilly. We did have to get the blankets out. And then from bingo, next week was a quiz. And everybody's thinking, well, a quiz on your mobile phone, people are going to be Googling it. So it was an ungoogleable quiz. It was a quiz about Prospect Road. It was a quiz about Longwood. It was a quiz about people on the street. So that was brilliant, finding out about people on the street. And as you've said, I see you, nurse, on the street. We've got a music teacher on the street. We've discovered that we've got a plumber right across the road. Brilliant. Painter and decorator down the road. We've got a bin man. When you get those messages, which colour bin is it today? We now know. We get it from source. We've got mental health nurses. We've got beauticians. We've got journalists. And again, we wouldn't know this if it wasn't for this situation. So that's one positive. We've got a whole new skill set on the street that we can tap into if we need to.
Yes, there was a fitness class that went viral, I think. Who was that doing? What was that one about?
Yeah, soon after the quiz and what can we do next sort of thing, somebody piped up, I'm a fitness instructor and I do hit step. So before we knew it, Sunday mornings, 11 o'clock was Hit Step on Prospect Road that was live on Facebook. Hit Step by Katie Fitness, if you want to like and follow that or whatever you do on Facebook. And you'll see a reasonable number of people on a Sunday morning on the curbside, and we're chalked off into our sort of 2 metre, 3 metre zones, right, doing all sorts of crazy fitness stuff. And I think the first session did attract over 2 million views on Facebook. So wherever you are in the world, tap into that, Katie Fitness, and you'll see us in action. Okay. Treasure hunt followed that. We've done treasure hunts. We were conscious a lot of the street were contributing in different ways. So we thought, as part of the daily exercise that we're allowed to do in lockdown, an hour a day in your local area, we would use Google Forms, Google Quiz to actually do an online treasure hunt that people with young kids have absolutely loved. If you say to a kid you're going for a walk, oh no, we don't want to go. If you give them a mobile phone or an iPad with a treasure hunt on it, that actually instills some interest and makes the whole experience for parents less painful. All participants go into a prize draw for a packet of sweets. Other things, Easter egg decorating. So again, we were encouraged to decorate Easter eggs and leave your exhibits at the end of your drive or on your doorstep. And then people are then free to go and look around, keeping their distances. Very recently, we've had a cake making, a bake-off, which was really good, because everything we've done so far was aimed at families or aimed at younger people, perhaps. Whereas the bake-off and cake-off has now developed into sort of flower arranging. So it's sort of targeting, the older, perhaps, or those people that aren't interested in all the other things.
Yeah.
So it's, again, we use the word inclusive, that there's been an attempt to try and include as many different people as possible to learn the skills that people have got. And there's been a 30-day sketching competition or activity where one of the residents across the road, a very good artist, has been suggesting topics or themes. He's posted his online and everybody else has then posted theirs. So tons and tons of different activities going on. But there's also been lots of good sharing, DVDs, books, jigsaws. But we've gone above and beyond. We've got a sunflower growing competition going on. So we've been sharing compost.
Wow.
We've been sharing hair clippers.
Wow. All hygienic.
Obviously, all the hairdressers and barbers closed. You couldn't get hair clippers for a long time. So, there's been hair clippers passed around the street. Obviously, back to safety and all that, they've been fully disinfected and wiped down before we pass them on, because, we understand our responsibility to keep things safe. This week in particular, we've been planning for VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. So all the children on the street have been colouring in bunting to decorate houses. There won't be any red and blue felt tips available for a while. They'll probably all run out, but we'll have a smart looking street on Friday.
It's literally like you're living on a kind of holiday resort, kind of, all-inclusive activities provided. Is it mostly been, you mentioned Nigel was the one that started it. Has it been his energy that's just kept it going, or have you found that everybody's now joining in? Well,
everybody's congratulating Nigel and saying, well done, you're brilliant, which he is. He instigated it, and you've got to give him credit, and he takes credit for that. But when we speak to him now and we give him lots of pats on the back and well done, he says, no, I've instigated it. This is a street effort. Everybody has contributed. Katie's done the fitness. We've done the treasure hunts. ICU nurse has kept our feet on the ground. The guy over the road does the sketching. The guy up the road does the brass band. Everybody's brought into it. Right? So it's very collectively a team effort, a community effort.
What do you hope after, when everything goes back to normal, which I hope it doesn't go back to normal, when we move into, and you're a long way from that yet at the moment in the UK, well, I think we all are all over the world, what do you hope that you'll keep from this experience with your street?
Things will die down, and there's been a lot of things about the new normal and returning to normal. But if you think about it, there's certain aspects of the old normal that we don't want to return to. I would like to certainly think the world will be a kinder place. And I certainly know that this street will be a kinder place. I certainly know that on this street, we'll look out for each other a lot more.
Yeah.
I know that if I need from practical point of view, if I need an emergency plumber, I know where to go. So I think, collectively as a street, even though the contact, the engagement, the communication will certainly die down when everybody returns to however their jobs or lives will look in the future. Whilst that will diminish, I'm sure, that there is certainly now over time, the sort of community spirit is embedded. We've been in lockdown now in our 7th week now. We're not, Boris Johnson's making an announcement on Sunday about the way out of this. We don't think anything's going to happen quickly, but certainly the community feeling and spirit on this street and in other streets around the country, I'm sure, but particularly in this street, that's the one I care about, is certainly embedded, and that will continue now. Prior to this, we knew the names of our neighbours that way.
Yeah.
Didn't know what they did. We knew the names of our neighbours that way. chatted over the fence, said hello when you're getting in and out your car or when you're putting your bin out. That was it.
Yeah.
But we now have engaged with so many more people, and that can only be a positive thing. And it's, I guess, trying to maintain that.
Absolutely. And
as soon as we can.
Yeah.
So as soon as we can, there's talk of a street party,
Wow.
whether that's the right tone or not, because of what we've been through, and we're living through a tragic piece of world history.
Yeah.
So whether a street party is appropriate, we'll wait and see. Because I think we all do, as I said before, you can quite easily get carried away with what activity we're doing now and how much fun is this, and everything's great on this street. But that's why we need the likes of our ICU nurse, just to keep our feet on the ground and just have that realization that this is serious, this is tragic, and this is a huge piece of tragic history. But saying all that, you've got to keep positive, because 7 weeks plus of lockdown is tough, particularly for those people on the street. So I'd like to think we'll be a closer community, more active. Certainly on bank holidays, and the Queen has various jubilees whenever she fancies. So I would see the old traditional street party possibly returning, and this street being possibly a market leader in that. But certainly a
leader, without a doubt. You are the most active street in the world. I really think you are. I work with a lot with government. So in the UK, just think about it maybe as your local council, and they try to engage people in their decision making. And traditionally, the old normal, they really, really struggle to get people on board to listen for various reasons. And so I was just imagining, say in the future, that your local council is planning on installing a new playground, and they're going to do their same old, hey, here's a plan for our playground. What do you think? Like, what has this all taught us? And they'd struggle to get the community involved in the old style. And I think they still would, because they potentially, if they don't come to a new normal, they're going to be left behind. Like, what do you think they could do differently now that this community is all connected? It's all there without government. There's no government has made this happen. It's all about you. Like, what tips would you have for them if they want to come and talk to you about stuff in the future?
Well, you've said the word already. You said listen, and that is crucial. I work in a senior team in a school, and if you don't listen to, no disrespect, but those on the shop floor, those teachers, those that teach 5 lessons back to back every day, then you can't get a true flavour of what's going on. So people in council, people in local government need to listen to the residents. And being fairly blunt, the only time I really ever hear from our councillor is when she's due for re-election.
Oh,
exactly. And that's pretty sad.
I mean, I think an answer for them, I would be saying is, and I've said this to you before, everybody needs a Nigel in their street to start.
Everyone needs a Nigel.
That local council now needs not to have them. That Nigel holds the numbers of everybody, or you all do. You've all got a WhatsApp group. If that council wants to really engage with you, they need to talk to Nigel. And how does this street work? It needs that really local level. And I just hope that maybe, who's your local council? I'll tag them when I share this. But they need to listen. They need a Nigel. And every street around the world, I think, needs a Nigel. This is a model that
Well, it's absolutely. And, I think, years ago, and I think it still exists, in something called Neighbourhood Watch. I don't know if you've got something in Australia like that. It was where local residents would probably meet once every so often and discuss. It was basically an attempt to try and monitor crime, local crime and stuff like that. And I think something like that would be very, very useful. For example, Prospect Road community group that could then feed into the local councillor. That, to be honest, that shouldn't be for us to drive. The council should be driving that. But maybe it should be us that say, hang on a minute, we've got a street here with 100+ residents, very passionate about making it better. This is what we think.
I think the connectivity you've now got between those 100+ residents and the fact that you can make something happen like that instantly, your councillors, in fact, the elected people, should be watching very closely, because this is what I call community power now. You hold the power, you're all connected, and you can make stuff happen. I love it. Look, I've got to go. Thank you so much for sharing the story of Prospect Road in Long.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Huddersfield, West Yorkshire, UK. I think people will really have enjoyed and be inspired by it. And I'm going to call this, is this the world's most engaged street? And let's see if we can find any others around the world that are this engaged, because it's just amazing. So congratulations to you.
We are very competitive. We are up for it, if anyone can beat us.
Oh, I love it. Let's do this. Let's make this a competition. I love it. All right. Thank you for your time today. And I'll chat to you soon.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.